Everyone. So, after a few conversations with different people of different ages, I started to wonder if I need to worry about what's going on in the US. I don't pay very much attention to the news. So, everything I'm hearing is hearsay from other people, and they're sort of putting their lens and anxiety on it. So, I just decided now that I'm early retired and I do kind of worry about what's going to happen to me in my early retirement. So I just casually asked ChatGPS some of my concerns. The top one was the civil war in the US, any possibility of that, if there's any threat of like another 9/11 attack, because I was alive and a freshman in college when that happened, so I know that is something that can happen. And then, of course, my investments. And then on a smaller scale, like what's going to happen to healthcare marketplace, because really investments and marketplace are my primary things of concern. And then at the end, ChatGPT, being what it was, gave me some advice on what to do, like what I can do now instead of worrying. So I asked Charles or ChatGPT about any possibility, like what do I need to know? Is there a possibility of civil war in the US? And I asked Charles and Grok, and they are both like, the risk of that is negligible. Any kind of thought of a civil war is very unlikely. This is based on analysis from experts in different agencies, so I'm just going with that. So overall, that threat is very unlikely, negligible, and why there is some risk for localized violence and unrest, which I think we're all experiencing, a large-scale civil war that will topple the United States seems very unlikely. So I felt comforted by that. So I probed further. I was like, is there a risk of another like 9/11 attack? With the 250th celebration coming next week, I, being just a regular civilian, think like, oh, that would be a opportune time for somebody to attack us. But that threat was even lower. So the threat is lower than early 2000s, according to Charles, but not zero. Apparently, this is something they monitor around the clock. I didn't know that, according to this, there's been attempts over the years, but it's all been stopped because they're so good at monitoring and coordinating. The one thing that was eye-opening to me is that they're pretty much saying like a physical attack is pretty low, but what they do now is more infrastructure attacks, so like hacking and spreading misinformation and stealing technology. So probably not another terrorist attack in terms of something we'll physically see, but maybe infrastructure. And then since I specifically asked about 9/11, Charles was like, it's much harder to pull off than it was in 2001 because of all of the layers of security. There's international cooperation, and then financial monitoring makes it harder to fund, which is a logistical aspect I, of course, would not consider because I don't work in security or national security. So that made me feel a lot better. And I probed and probed a lot, and I kept getting asked a couple of chats about this. And this was the answer that was pretty consistent, both this one and the Civil War. So that made me feel really good because that was initially like a big concern. It's like, how concerned do I need to be? Like, is the U.S. going to attack the U.S. or are other people going to attack the U.S. since we all seem to be in a little bit of a stressful situation? But I feel pretty good that it doesn't seem as though those risks are as high as people are making it seem. So I can go back to living in La La Land for now. And then to something more specific to me, like with all of this civil unrest, is the stock market going to crash? Like, are my investments safe? Because this is all I'm living on. And Charles said the volatility is definitely going to exist, but a crash is not expected. So that makes me feel good. I'm not going out there doing anything crazy with my investments. And then just one of the questions I was asking, like, how does it impact me today? And they're just like, well, you might experience things costing more, like groceries, which I think we all have. And then as far as worrying, they said it was a low to medium. So I think I do invest in index funds, which covers the market. So if the US itself is not going to collapse, I feel pretty good that my investments are not going to collapse. Like, I don't think, based on this information, that I'm suddenly going to wake up with $0. So I feel good about that. even if I don't get the returns, as long as you don't see another like stock market, not that I even know what that means, but like if everything goes down and I have no money, that seems very low. So all of this seems very low. So I can just continue to tune out all of the noise I'm hearing from people in my life. And then, of course, healthcare marketplace. I did a video earlier on the Big Beautiful Bill, so I have a little bit of an idea that some of the subsidies are going to run out in 2026. But I don't plan on being on marketplace until 2027, so that is a known. So there was nothing new here. It just said to worry about it for future, need to worry about it, which I'm okay with. So it's going to be a wait and see for me to see how much those premiums are going to cost me in 2027, A, because of the changes, and B, to see, I've never been on it, so I don't know, and to see how my income is going to impact the premium cost to me. So as of today, it doesn't affect me because I'm not on Marketplace, but just looking to the future, because that is what I'm planning to use before I'm eligible for Social Security in 25 years. Or not Social Security, Medicare. But either way, I mean, if it costs more, like, for me, I'm kind of taking not a blasé attitude, but a kind of like, what's the alternative? I mean, I need healthcare. And so one of the things that Charles did tell me as he sensed my tiny panic was I don't need to like prepare for mass evacuations or like foreign evasion or foreign occupancy or anything like that. Just what I can do right now, if I want, is just to make sure I have like just general emergency preparedness, make sure I have my ID and passport handy or accessible, and then having some cash. He had suggested about $500, but I don't feel comfortable having that much cash in the house. So I'm just going to do a little bit less than that, kind of what I would take when I go overseas. So just a little cash, and then just having like a go bag of clothes and medications and, you know, like first aid kits and things like that. A lot of that stuff is kind of already in my car. And in terms of, I don't know, clothes and toiletries and stuff like that, I'm not too worried about it. But I was assured that like basically preparing like I'm going on a trip and just having that stuff handy, which it generally is, because I mean, I live in a studio, everything's handy. So I know where my passport is. I know where the cash is. I mean, that's just stuff I'll have in my wallet. And just signing up for alerts. I don't actually know how to do that. So that might be something I can look into. But I'm just treating it as, all right, I've done as much as I can do. I have the information that's currently available. There's nothing more I can do with it other than when it comes at me unsolicited from people in my life, I can just like go to my Zen place and know that like, you know, just let them talk, but I can't let it upset or panic me. So I feel good about that. I'm glad that, you know, I could just depend on Charles to pull this information together, because I know trying to look on different websites, I would get a lot of editorializing. So yeah, threats have been minimized in my mind, and the preparation I feel like I would normally do. So just thinking of like, I have my car, I have ID, I have money, and I have, just anything I might need if I need to get out of town. I think the thing I'm focusing most on, like if for some reason local infrastructure collapsed or there was an emergency, I'm just thinking of how to get myself out of this situation in the most immediate, not so much long term, and then hoping that I can get to the next safe place and then make a better plan. Anyways, I just wanted to share that because I'm taking you along with my journey. So these things come up just because I'm early retired. The world doesn't stop.